Meeting on the crossroads where the two forbidden subjects of religion and politics intersect. This is the Sophie Scholl Roundtable, where we indeed talk about philosophical issues as they relate to politics and our faith, as well as a ghost town. Kurt, you just told me about a ghost town.
Yeah.
Tell me about that ghost town as it relates to the subject matter.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, my family was up in Niagara Falls, New York. We had some friends up from the south. They had never seen Niagara Falls before. And when you're at Terrapin Point, right on Goat Island, and you look across the Niagara River from the Horseshoe Falls, it's very easy to see lines of people down the rail from the Table Rock House all the way down to where the hornblower loads. So it was nearly a ghost town over there.
Imagine
it was an unbelievable sight that on July 6th, Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, was leaving millions of dollars on the table from visitors.
You think of that place teeming with people in midsummer.
Yeah.
Because you like to get under the mist, especially when it's a hot day to feel
and it was
cooled
that
off.
day. It was that day. It was in the 80s.
But isn't it interesting to see the impact of COVID manifest itself in a ghost town in Niagara Falls when it's been so well known as a tourist attraction, and there's no tourists. Well, speaking of COVID, couldn't help but notice recently a conversation in the Senate between Rand Paul and Dr. Anthony Fauci. And wow, I loved how Rand put Dr. Fauci's feet to the fire.
Well, he's been doing that for a little bit. I remember last summer, prior to schools, he pressed him point blank on the ability of schools to function with because he was making the case, we have 20-some countries around the world that have allowed kids in school, and it is not the source and the spread of the coronavirus. He's been doing this pretty regularly. And what's really interesting is how defensive Anthony Fauci gets.
Right.
Every time Rand Paul gets the mic and has an opportunity to ask him questions.
That's one thing I noticed. I may not know all the science, but I'm listening to this and saying, wow, does Fauci sound defensive or what?
And for a guy who's been in public health as long as he has, you would think he would have a thicker skin by now than that. I mean, that's a sign that either you are in the wrong occupation, or especially for being in the public limelight that he's in, or you have just been there way too long, and your time has come and gone, and you need to exit stage left.
Because for me, the credibility and trust in Dr. Fauci is about gone. It's empty.
Whatever. For me, I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt in the early stages, but he blew his, he blew it stage by stage, comment by comment, and on top of this gain of function thing that Rand Paul's been on, and for those not aware of that, that's the whole idea of this lab in Wuhan, China, engaging in science that's creating a disease that could be transmitted by humans. And I mean, he's going to the lengths of asking the DOJ to start a criminal investigation. Whether that even manifests itself in D.C., I would place the odds of that less than 10%. I don't think anybody should get excited about that. If it were to happen, I would love to see. Seriously,
Me too.
I would love to see some accountability to actually start emerging. My confidence in that is don't hold your breath territory.
Exactly. That's where mine is, too. I'm glad Paul made the referral.
Yeah.
But can we count on our DOJ to apply the standard of justice equally among all? No.
They've really blown their wad on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's really It's tragic to see because, again, you would like to see people who, we can go back as far as the bank mess in 2007, 8, and 9. There wasn't a single banker that went to jail. There was no accountability there. No one from Wall Street or Wells Fargo or whatever the big bank, none of them ended up in jail.
Yeah, and I think we see with Fauci, as you say, somebody who's very defensive and who looks very weak, uninformed. Or he's just trying to cover himself when he says, Dr. Paul, I want to make it official that you don't know what you're talking about. When Rand was simply asking him the questions right from the very sources that he himself is working with, that is Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, it's a sign. The questions are too hot. It's kind of like what we're seeing with our governor. He's got these multiple investigations going on. He was deposed just last weekend. He's been in hiding ever since because he's afraid a reporter's going to ask him what he was forced to talk about.
And it makes me wonder why he's afraid when he has the reporters basically on his side.
Exactly.
Now, I may be biased, but
exactly.
Given the New York press corps, I feel like they really haven't asked him what he needs to be confronted with.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
So, with this whole COVID thing especially, it's only going to be a matter of a month and a half before school starts.
Exactly. And we still don't have any genuine guidance from the state health department on what they're going to do. We've got the Post-Journal running poll questions about whether parents want masks on their kids. Seriously. And this is what they did last year. I can remember a year ago, it got to be in July, they said nothing about sports. And I'm like going, that means they're going to push it back. And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. Mm-hmm. And the ability of these supposed experts in our state government to just dither, be indecisive, and pretend that they aren't supposed to be speaking up on something. They've got a master class in this at this point. This is what they do all the time.
Yeah, and I see, for me, I get direction from Rand Paul when he says, if you're 65 and older, I would recommend that you get the vaccine. Or if you're 40 years of age and overweight, get the vaccine. If you're under 25, don't do it.
Exactly.
To me, he's clear. Yeah. And to me, that's common sense.
And it's one of the things that the whole messaging on this has been lacking so much from the very beginning. If we can go back to March 2020, there hasn't been a trustworthy voice that was just cutting through all the smoke and saying, this is what's going on. This disease, this virus, is so massively age stratified, it's shocking. If you are 70 or older, seriously, do stuff to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. But once you get past 60, you're basically looking at people who have multiple comorbidities. Mm-hmm. People who have, maybe it's diabetes, maybe it's COPD, whatever the health condition is. But, after that, we're talking about survival rates that are like 99 point whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, people, stop cowering in the corner of your living room in the fetal position and start living your life again. Seriously.
And that's, I feel like, the Olympics. Here you got athletes who are in the best shape of anybody on earth.
Yep.
And I feel like, man, the heaviness of regulation upon them, to me, is over the top. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But what is the big deal about some athletes contracting it?
Yeah. The likelihood of them surviving is far greater than them landing in the hospital and potentially being in the ICU.
And I heard, too, I think it was from Rand Paul, he said, you have a greater chance if you're 25 and under of getting hit by lightning and dying from that than dying from COVID.
Exactly. And this is one of the other things that have been so missing in these last 18 months. Risk assessment, people. Risk assessment. We take risk every single day. And you aren't going to go outside because you're afraid the COVID boogeyman is what? On the other side of the tree? In your car? What is that mentality? Seriously, stop it.
To me, it's just government's attempt to reach and control more of our lives through the use of fear.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
That's just what's going on, and
Indeed.
people buy into it. They want the...
Seriously, I cannot believe we're now almost a year and a half into this thing, and this is a conversation that is still demanding our time.
Yeah.
If the government would stop doing a daily dashboard on a disease, this thing would probably go away rather quickly. And we have all kinds of illnesses that we've had vaccines for over time, and they were tested, and they have credibility behind them, and there's now this mad rush for whatever.
Yeah, and I do think that the situation with the Delta virus, if I understand Rand Paul correctly, I'm following what he has to say.
Right.
Yeah, it may be more contagious, but it's not as lethal.
That's what I'm reading as well.
Yep. So,
and basically the symptoms are like a bad cold.
Yeah. So do we go back to masks indoors, like what California and Los Angeles is doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see New York following suit.
Oh, absolutely. Anywhere where there's a Democratic governor,
expect exactly.
Hair on fire and edicts from on high.
Yep. While wanting more money from the government so that they can keep their favorite clientele pacified.
And only God knows what they'll do yet again to small business owners who've been put through the ringer.
Putting through the ringer, what Joe Biden said to that business owner the other day. You're just in a bind right now.
Yeah.
Well, and I say, no, Joe Biden, you've put them in that bind. It's the government who has bound up the small business. So get out of the way. Let people function as they take that risk themselves rather than you making these decisions for them.
Exactly.
So, well, on that note, we'll conclude this episode of the Sophie Scholl Roundtable.